All right, guys, this one's gonna be hard to believe. I'm sure you can see it is snowing outside, but in the interest of time and in the interest of actually doing work on this car, we're gonna do a little bit of extra credit work. We're gonna work a little bit during this snow day, and we're gonna work on the interior of the Cheapie Civic. It is super cold, it's low 30s, but I have the LX cluster that has a tachometer on it, and instead of rolling back the odometer on that one because it has 107,000 miles, I'm just going to swap this speedometer from this cluster that doesn't have a tach to the one with a tach. And while this is out, I'm also going to install the clock that we got from the junkyard. So the harness is here. All Honda guys know there's a pigtail in the back. The screws just come off. We'll screw the clock back in and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna put this on time lapse. Hopefully I can find a place to put this GoPro, and then we're gonna get this off. That way we can go ahead and work back inside the garage where it's less cold. We are done with the installation of the LX cluster as well as the clock. The clock face is a little foggy. I'm gonna try to polish that. Hopefully the dirt isn't on the inside of the lens, although it looks like it's on the inside of the lens. Anyway, we have a clock now. We also have the gauge cluster working, and if you guys can see it, whoa, so bright. If you guys can see that, we have a working tachometer now. So everything works, all the lights work. If you take the brake off and you just go into reverse, neutral, drive, D3, 2, 1, all the light bulbs work, super awesome. Hazards work. So that is done. We are gonna work on the center console next. So this has to come out, and while it's out, we're gonna adjust the e-brakes as well. I don't think we're gonna get to that today. It is raining and it's super cold, also wet outside. So we're gonna save that, but we did make some progress today and I'm glad for that. We're gonna go inside, order some ball joints for the front suspension. What's going on, guys? It is another day. A couple of days ago we went to the junkyard and picked up some parts for the Cheapie Civic, phase 2 of it, and it's becoming less and less cheap. But we got the front knuckles from the junkyard, which are an exact match for this car. It's non-ABS and it's the smaller spindle. We got those from the junkyard. We stripped them apart so the bearings are out, and now we just got to pop out the old ball joints, order some ball joints and press them in, as well as wait for the new bearings to come so we can press those in as well. Yesterday inside the car, while it was snowing, we were able to get the LX cluster in, and we swapped over the speedometer from the original cluster, so that way we get the tachometer here, but we also maintain the old mileage. While we were at it, we also put in the clock that we got from the junkyard, so that's really nice. These are LX features that didn't come with the car, so super cool that we get that, and it even works. I don't think the time is right though. So next thing that I'm gonna do is actually take apart this center console here and install the armrest that I was able to get from the junkyard. Thankfully, it's also the same color gray, and while I have this removed, I'm actually going to adjust the parking brake as well, just to get that over with, because all of the cables will be exposed. So I'll go ahead and do that, and even though it's raining, I'm gonna do one last thing, and that's run the power wire that we got from Amazon, combination Amazon and the junkyard. We're gonna run that. We're gonna put the fuse holder underneath the hood, run the wire through a spare grommet that we got from the junkyard as well, and run it through here, run it to the back, and then bolt down the sub box onto the wood reinforcement that we made the other day. That way we can say that at least we got something done today, and that would complete phase 2 of the interior upgrades on the Cheapie Civic. Let's get to work. All right, so we got the armrest in, and although the condition is not one-to-one, this is the Cheapie Civic, so although this one's a little bit worse for wear, it came from a smoker's car, no big deal. We got an OEM EJ Civic armrest, and the better thing is it is in the matching gray. Super cool, and now we have a little cubby hole to store things. So I'm super happy about that. This only cost $12. Honestly, it should have only cost $6 at the junkyard, but the junkyard is a ripoff. We all know this. We got that in. We, as mentioned before, got the tack in and got the clock in. All of the bulbs work. And now we are going to take apart some of the rest of the interior. That way we can run that power cable from the front to the back so we can bolt in that subwoofer. Enough talking, let's get to work. All right, moment of truth. Reconnect that. Then I'm gonna go double check in the back. All right, so we are in the car after sorting out some battery issues with our GoPro. It's cold, so the battery is not cooperating. Anyway, we are about to put in the code. I think it's cool. And then we're gonna go ahead, close the door, get rid of the beeping. Can't tell if the amp is on, so we're gonna play some music and see where we're gonna go from there. Yes. All right, so we're gonna set the gain, we're gonna button everything up, and then after that, we'll go ahead and take a tour of what we did. But that is good. All the wiring's good, so let's get back to work.
Your husband was a drug dealer. For 14 years, he sold crack cocaine.
Sergio Ciccini inside his mesh.
What is going on, guys? It is super cold today. It is about 36 degrees, and we are going to finish working on my high school dream, that stereo. So in phase one, we put in a subwoofer from Best Buy, which was about 50 bucks from the clearance section. And we paired that up with an audio control LC1.800, which I got from the Junkyard for super cheap, pulled it out of an Audi. So that was a Junkyard score. And now I realize that, of course, the head unit power is simply not powerful enough to power the speakers that we put in. I dug up in the stash. We found this LC2I line output converter from the Junkyard, so I put that onto the amp board and picked up one of these Kenwood amplifiers for super cheap. This was about $40 open box. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna power the 4 speakers, the 2 in the doors and the 2 on the rear deck, with this Kenwood amplifier. We already bolted this up to kind of mock it up, but we need to wire it in. So let me show you guys the wiring that we have pre-made. Earlier this week, I made a T-harness for the OEM radio. So this plugs into the OEM radio, this plugs into the body harness, and then we're gonna have speaker wire leads that are gonna connect to this amplifier. We have this, which is speaker line inputs for the LC2I. So these are also plug and play. I got these harnesses from the Junkyard, and they're gonna plug in right there and right there. This is the harness for the Kenwood, which we already started to clean up, but essentially this is power, ground, and remote. And then On top of that, we need to wire all the speaker outputs. So the green and the purples are going to go to the rear deck, which we have connectors for here. And then the grays are the fronts, which are going to connect to here. So all we really have to do is assemble that, put it together, clean it up, and make it look good in this trunk. So enough talking, let's get to work, take out the center console, run the wires, and then tune this system. Now, if you're wondering why we are disconnecting and cutting off some of the zip ties that we just did in a previous video, this was a harness that we used for the LC 1.800, and that was because we were only running a sub amp at the time. We weren't running these, so kind of phase 0.5 or phase 1 of the actual audio project was just to add a sub, and the sound was lacking. So that's why we are keeping this for a different project or for future use. We're just going to keep that in the stash, and then we're going to wire up and tuck away these new harnesses over here. All right, so the GoPro battery died on us during the time lapse, but we got everything installed and mostly cleaned up. We just need to tape up a couple of other things. Once that's done and we turn it on, test everything, make sure all the speakers are working, we're gonna button the interior back up and then take it for a drive and see how it sounds.
massive. Start with the game like a bandit. Keeping the flame like a matches. Destino, thought the slackness. Active style and pattern, that's how I say. Active, active. One live like massive. Talking up on every branch. How to down with the world hostage. When I start the bumper class mash me. Step out to facing active.
All right, guys, that does it for this episode. We got the entire stereo buttoned up, and because this is the Cheapie Civic, we did it all on the cheap. Everything you see here cost us right about $200. Just from front to back, we got all the 4 speakers from Best Buy. They were $20 a pair. JVC's up in the front, Pioneer's up in the rear. Over here in the back, the subwoofer box and the Kenwood amplifier were purchased from Best Buy on open box clearance, so we got a super good deal on those. And the audio control LC1.800 and the LC2i were actually from the Junkyard, so we snagged those at a significant discount over retail. We got a lot of the wiring from the Junkyard as well, so I only had to buy a roll of power cable in order to wire this all up. Everything else came in the stash, or actually came when we purchased these 2 items from the Junkyard. And we also got these plugs from donor cars. That way it's a no-cut install and we can go back to stock if we need to. All in all, the entire system only cost us about $200, like I mentioned before, and I'm super happy with that result. Anyway, if you guys like this video and want to see us working more on this 1995 Honda Civic that we call the Cheapie Civic, don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe to Bolts and Banter, and check us out on Instagram at Bolts and Banter for more daily car updates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next one.